Okay, if you're anything like me, you have probably spent a ton of time reading and researching what is the best chicken tractor. And spoiler alert, it's not the same for everybody. However, listen to these 5 tips and I guarantee you it will save you a lot of time and weed out a lot of things to make sure that you get it right the first time around. The first tip, and one of the things that was pretty high on our list, was how it looks. My wife was 100% on board with getting the chickens, with having them in the backyard. Her biggest request that it was something that wouldn't be an eyesore to her. So for us, that meant no PVC. Look, I've got nothing against PVC, but I really wanted to make sure that my wife had a good experience with this and that when she looked out in the yard, she saw something that she enjoyed as well. I know it's not a lot to look at right now because it definitely needs a good cleaning, but trust me, with all the plans that we looked at, this one was definitely one of the most attractive designs. Since we're talking specifically about chicken tractors, the second thing that you need to consider is the movability. This one is lightweight enough that technically my oldest 2 boys can move it if our yard wasn't completely destroyed by moles. That's a different issue altogether. You'll need to figure out how you're going to move it and where you're going to be moving it. Obviously, we wanted to be able to move it by hand. We've got a good rope up front to be able to pull it. But some people I know will be moving theirs with a tractor or maybe some other vehicle. So whatever you're going to be moving it with, whether it's man-powered or not, make sure that you are aware of how heavy the structure is to have the proper equipment to be able to move it. One other thing that's important about movability is really maneuverability. So let's call this one tip number 2B. This chicken tractor has fixed wheels on the back and it has casters up at the front. So that way I can pivot the front. Some chicken tractor designs don't have wheels at all. And so you're just going to be dragging it either on the wood or maybe on some skids that you're installing on the bottom. Just keep that in mind. Know that movability and maneuverability are going to be 2 big concerns when it comes to the daily chore of moving the chicken tractor. If you like the videos where I'm sharing tips from our experience, then leave a comment below to let us know, and I'll be happy to put more things like this together. Point number 3 is usability. I'm going to define usability as the daily tasks of collecting eggs, feeding the chickens, watering the chickens, and performing regular maintenance. Mine does everything perfectly well. Some things I could probably tweak a little bit so it would do it a little bit better. Here are the things that you need to consider for usability. The task of gathering eggs is really simple, really easy. Even a 4-year-old can do it. The water setup has worked out great. I've got a 3-gallon waterer hung in a spot where they have easy access to it, and it's pretty easy for me to check and to change out when that's needed. Right now I'm using one of these feed bins to put the food in on a daily basis, and that works out perfectly fine. But if it was hung in there, it would prevent me from having to go in and remove it each day. So again, it could be a little bit better. Regular maintenance is also pretty easy with this because we've got access to the main portion of the coop, we've got access to the nesting box, and obviously anything underneath can just be moved to be able to access. There are 2 usability aspects that are both seasonal, and they're things that I'm still trying to figure out and that I'll probably be tweaking as I go along. The first is shade in the summertime. Obviously they have shade underneath, but I'm gonna get some shade cloth to put over the other area so that they can have more space to roam and not just bake in the oppressive North Mississippi heat in the summertime. The second is the opposite end of the spectrum, having to winter-proof the chickens. This past winter, we did have several days in a row that didn't get above freezing, and so I wanted to make sure that they were well protected. I put some insulation around the outside, I put a tarp over the top. I did not put a warmer inside. We didn't have any issues, so everything worked out well with that. Really no complaints here. Again, that's just something that you need to keep in mind that seasonally, you're probably gonna need to make some changes. Hey, Arliss, she doesn't want her finger pecked by a chicken. Number 4 is access. This is something that mine does pretty well, but there is one major thing that I would tweak. So like I've already mentioned, we've got the door at the back, the door to the nesting boxes, the door at the front. The one piece that I'm missing is access underneath the coop area. There have been a couple of times where I needed to get a particular chicken out, and of course that chicken must have known that I needed to get her out, so she hid under there where I really couldn't get to her. I would like to have a door probably on the side, maybe on the back, to be able to access that area more readily, even if I'm not able to reach all the way across. And I'd like that for getting to the chickens, as well as being able to put water and food there in inclement weather. If we've got a torrential downpour, their feed trough is going to fill up with water and it's not going to be effective. So instead of having to go into the tractor and put it in there, I would like a direct access here to be able to put it in, to get it under some cover, and to be able to access it easily to get it back out when I go to move them. Number 5 is security. I've found that there's a trade-off between movability or maneuverability and security. Our chicken tractor is on wheels, so it sits a few inches off the ground. If you've got a chicken tractor that's sitting directly on the ground and you're moving it on skids, you might not have the same issues that we have, but I bet you do still have some issues. The issue that we have had is predators digging underneath and getting to the chickens. We've actually lost 2 chickens this way. After the first one, I added this skirting around the chicken tractor, which actually does make it more difficult to move. And after the second one, I realized I had to do something more at the corners. So now we're putting rocks at the corners to prevent something from digging in there. This isn't saying anything against the folks over at Green Willow Homestead. I knew exactly what the design was. I knew that it set up off the ground, and I knew that there was the chance for a predator to get under there. What I thought was that moving it every day would deter them, and I think it has, but obviously not all the way. So number 1 was its looks. Number 2, movability and maneuverability. Number 3, usability. Number 4, access. And number 5, security. If there are other things that you found important when you were looking for or building your own chicken tractor, then definitely let us know. Drop a comment. We would love to improve, and this probably won't be the last chicken tractor that we build. But after using it for all 4 seasons, we know that those 5 tips will get you a long way in getting the right chicken tractor. Okay, you can hit it, buddy.